There are moments in life when everything you've built, every dream, every sacrifice, every ounce of hope collapses in front of you like a house of cards. Moments when you lose not just what you worked for, but the version of yourself you were proud of. You find yourself gripping old memories, replaying old victories, wishing the past would return and save you from the present. But what if the truth is that healing doesn't come from looking back? What if your life starts moving again the moment you take even the smallest step forward? In a quiet American town, there lived a young man named David Miller. David was the kind of man people admired, driven, focused, full of bold ideas. For years, he believed what most dreamers believe, that with enough hard work, nothing is impossible. And with that belief, he built a business from the ground up. Sleepless nights, endless effort, unspoken sacrifices, he gave everything he had. And for a while it paid off. His name carried weight. His ideas opened doors. He spoke and people listened. His success felt unstoppable. But success is fragile. One storm can erase years of progress. A few wrong choices pulled him into debts he couldn't outrun. A partner he trusted walked away with more than money. Promises he depended on shattered overnight. What once thrived slowly began to crumble. And the first harsh truth of life revealed itself. Effort is never wasted, but effort alone does not make you unbreakable. David's business collapsed. The same people who once praised him now whispered behind his back. The streets where he once walked with confidence now felt like a courtroom, every stranger carrying silent judgment. Another truth became painfully clear. The world rarely remembers how hard you tried, only where you fell. Yet David didn't let go. Every morning, he walked past the old office building. The sign that once held his company's name was gone, replaced by something new. But he still stood there, almost hoping the doors would open and his old life would return. In his mind, he replayed the sounds of busy hallways, ringing phones, laughter, ambition, purpose. Those memories were louder than the present. And isn't that what so many of us do? We revisit ruins, expecting them to rebuild themselves. Forgetting ruins don't restore, they only remind you of what's gone. At night, David scrolled through old files and contracts, searching for the one mistake that caused it all. As if finding it would reverse time, but looking back never fixes the future. Reflection teaches, but it does not save. Still, he clung to the past. Silent thoughts whispered, maybe I can fix it. Maybe I can start again right here. But his heart already knew the truth. What broke you is not what will heal you. David became a man at war with himself. By day, he walked the town with lowered eyes. By night, he stared at the ceiling, drowning in thoughts he refused to face. Failure has a voice, and it whispered relentlessly, "You are not enough. You ruined everything. You will never rise again." Failure doesn't just take what you built. It tries to take who you are. He withdrew from everyone. Friends who once celebrated his victories now reminded him only of loss. Every handshake felt heavy with pity. Every smile seemed fake. He isolated himself, trapped by the endless what-ifs. What if I hadn't trusted him? What if I chose differently? What if I walked away sooner? But what if is a prison, a cage built out of moments that no longer exist. One morning, David walked past a small shop on the edge of town. The owner, an older man, swept the steps with a peaceful smile, humming as he worked. The shop wasn't big or successful, yet the man seemed content. And David wondered, how can someone with so little seem happier than me, who once had so much? And here lies a truth many discover too late. Peace doesn't come from what you own, but from what you choose to carry. Weeks passed. David repeated the same routine, visiting old places, reliving old memories, avoiding anything new. He wandered in circles, hoping comfort lived somewhere in the familiar. But comfort never comes from chains. One afternoon, as he stood in front of his old office again, a teenager walked by and asked, "Sir, why do you always stand here?" David forced a smile. "This place, it used to be mine." The boy looked at him with honest confusion. If it broke you, why do you keep standing in it? The words struck deep, simple, yet sharper than anything he had heard in months. Sometimes truth doesn't come from the wise, but from unexpected voices. Life has a way of reminding us at the exact moment we need to hear it. That night, David couldn't sleep. He replayed the boy's words. Why do you keep standing in it? Anger rose first. He doesn't understand what I lost. But beneath the anger was silence. And in that silence lived truth. He was still standing in the place where he broke, hoping it would heal him. But broken places don't heal. They only hold scars. Life will not restore you at the sight of your breaking. Healing requires movement. Still, David wasn't ready. He tried to start small, opened a notebook to sketch new ideas, but the page stayed blank. Fear wrapped around him. What if I fail again? What if everyone laughs? What if I'm not enough? Fear convinces you that staying stuck is safer than trying again. So he closed the notebook and returned to the cycle of revisiting old memories. He was alive, but he wasn't living. Existing, nothing more. One rainy evening, as he stood watching people rush through the storm, he realized something. They were moving, even through the rain. But he wasn't. He was frozen. And for the first time he admitted, I'm not moving. I'm stuck. That admission was his turning point. Healing begins not when you feel strong, but when you finally stop pretending. The next morning, he visited his elderly neighbor, Mr. Ellis, a retired teacher known for his quiet wisdom. Ellis was tending his small garden when David sat beside him. I don't know why I'm here, he muttered. Ellis didn't look up. Sometimes you don't come because you know where you're going. You come because you're lost, David sighed. I failed. I built something I thought would last forever, and it collapsed. I keep going back to it. Ellis leaned on his cane, eyes steady. Tell me, David, if a glass shatters in your hand, do you keep holding the pieces, hoping they'll fuse back together? Or do you let them go before they cut you deeper? David stared at the ground. The answer burned. Ellis continued softly. That office, that business, that name they broke. And you're still holding the pieces. Until you let them go, you'll keep bleeding. In that moment, David finally understood. Holding on to what's broken doesn't save it, it only wounds you. But if I let go, he whispered, what do I have left? Ellis smiled gently. You have yourself. And that is where rebuilding begins. The days that followed weren't easy, but they were different. Instead of walking past the old office, David chose a new route. The ache to look back pulsed inside him, but he forced himself forward. Change starts with small, painful steps. He cleaned his desk, throwing away old contracts and balance sheets. Each paper felt like tearing away a piece of his identity. Yet with every page he tossed, he felt lighter. Letting go wasn't weakness. It was creating space for new strength. David began journaling. At first, the words were jagged anger, regret, shame. But slowly, new sentences appeared. I'm still here. I still have time. I can try again. His days shifted. He stopped lingering at the ruins of his past. He helped local shop owners, advised younger entrepreneurs, and rediscovered humility. His pride whispered, this is beneath you, but he ignored it. Rebirth often begins in quiet places, not grand stages. Months passed. His guidance earned respect. People sought him not because he was the man who once succeeded, but because he was the man who learned. And from that humility, opportunity emerged. He noticed a gap in the town, something missing, something he could build. He sketched the idea, planned slow and steady, and this time he built differently. He didn't chase applause or size. He built with purpose, wisdom, and patience. The venture began small, a rented office, a tiny team, a trickle of clients. But like roots beneath the soil, it grew steadily. David felt the fire return, calmer and wiser now. Success wasn't his identity anymore, it was his contribution, his purpose, his chance to give back. Years later, the town no longer whispered about his failure. They spoke of his resilience, his rise. Parents told their children, "David Miller is the man who fell and rose stronger." One evening, David stood in his new office, watching the sunset spill gold across the sky. His heart felt lighter. His scars no longer ached. They were reminders of how far he had come. He whispered with quiet certainty, "I am not what I lost. I am what I chose to rebuild." And that is the heart of his story. It was never about the fall. It was always about the rise. Because David's story is not just about one man. It is about everyone who has ever been broken by life. Every person who has ever asked, "Do I stay where I fell? Or do I rise and rebuild?" Don't stay where you were broken. Don't keep circling the ruins. Don't mistake scars for chains. The chapter may have ended, but the book hasn't. Your story is not over. Your future holds more than your past could ever contain. Like David, you can rebuild stronger, wiser, and more alive than before. If this story moved you, give it a like, share what you learned in the comments, and don't forget to subscribe. We'll meet again with another story that just might change your life.